And it's a beautiful Friday morning right here in Lagos, Nigeria. Good morning, good evening, wherever the world you're watching from. It's Business Morning coming live from Channels HQ right here in Lagos. Hope your morning is going great. But let's take a look at what's happening with the markets now. Start with the global oil market. We see oil prices rose in Asian trade today, but still poised for a third straight week of losses after markets witnessed dramatic drops on fears of a weakening U.S. economy and slowing Chinese demand. We see Brent crude that rose 60 cents to $73.10 a barrel, while the U.S. WTI intermediate crude futures that was up 52 cents to $69.08 a barrel after 4 straight days of losses. We see the markets now, oil prices still staying around that $60 range. What next? Well, for the week, Brent was set to close down 8.1%, while WTI set to close 10% lower. Traders are focused on the release of U.S. employment data for April later in the day, hoping it could help gauge the health of the economy, as well as comments on monetary policy from St. Louis Fed President James Bullard and Minneapolis Fed President Neil Kashkari of the Economic Club of Minnesota. So all eyes on that, and that's what investors will be looking out for to see what happens next with price movements. To the grain market now, we see Chicago corn futures poised to end the week with marginal gains today after dropping to a 9-month low on news of canceled sales to China and strong competition from Brazil. Wheat is on track for a first weekly rise in 3 weeks as the market is being supported by uncertainties over a Black Sea export deal which allows Ukraine to ship grains despite war with Russia. The most active corn contract on the Chicago Board of Trade, CV1, that rose 0.1% to $5.89 for half a bushel, and the wheat WV1 added 0.2% at $6.46 for a quarter of a bushel, and soybeans SV1 that gained 0.1% at $14.19 for a quarter of a bushel. And Foremost financial institution, Stanbic IBTC, has launched its Blue Blossom Community, a platform designed to provide Nigerian women with access to financial and non-financial services. At a conference held in Lagos, panelists, guests, and attendees, particularly women, talked on various topics such as savings, investments, capacity building, amongst others. They also shared their knowledge and experiences in the world of business. You take a listen.
It's the unveiling of the Blue Blossom Community, a value proposition for Nigerian women, hosted by one of Nigeria's leading financial institutions, Stanbic IBTC Bank. The forum and exhibition event provides excellent networking opportunities for delegates to meet like-minded women.
Blossom Community.
Speaking about the community, the Chief Executive Officer of Stanbic IBTC Holdings, Dr. Demola Shogunle, highlights the importance of the platform to women across Nigeria.
We are launching it now, and we want everybody, every woman out there to subscribe fully because they stand a lot to gain. You know, Stanbic IBTC is coming with this Blue Blossom Community, and everything that we've done is to the benefit of our female customers, family members, their dependents, and the rest of it.
Keynote speaker at the launch and chairman of Stanbic IBTC Bank, Mrs. Shola David Boher, provides tips women can use to run their businesses successfully.
The first is go to the right place for advice. There are lots of places that you would go to and they would give you advice that is not in your own interest because they're trying to sell a product. But what Stanbic IBTC does is to really understand what do you need, you know, what do you need, where are you at, and make sure that we give you something that is customized for you. So that's the first thing. The second thing is to build up the person themselves, you know, to make them knowledgeable, to be able to run their own business, you know, in a way that is sustainable. And the third thing is to really help you to save and invest.
On her part, the head of enterprise banking, Jumoke Bello, lists the benefits of belonging to the Blue Blossom community.
It's not just about an account, but by having that community, you have access to learning from other people. You learn about how to save, how to invest, and how to grow. And that way, as you're growing, you're looking at your own family, the future of the children, and that's how it perpetuates down the line.
The Blue Blossom community has helped women unlock their potential to bloom and take their rightful place in the world.
And now to our first conversation. Well, the federal government of Nigeria this week approved the national blockchain policy. This was revealed by the Minister of Communications and Digital Economy, Issa Pantami, during the Federal Executive Council meeting held in the State House in Abuja. But what can blockchain do for Nigeria? Joining me now is Chief Olutoyin Olonteru, founder and chairman, Crypto Economy Institute Africa. Joining me right here in the studio. Great to have you. Good morning.
No, good morning. It's my pleasure to be with you this morning.
Yeah. So, what was your initial reaction, to this launch of the Nigeria blockchain policy?
And it is, very lovely and welcome. Especially, it's helped to demonstrate the strength of Nigeria in showing some qualities that a lot of Nigerians cannot see because it is not physical. It's not like building bridges, airports that you can easily see. It is one of the addition to what the federal government have been doing, especially in the areas of policy design, policy conceptualizations, preparation, and actually approval. You will recall that the federal government have done a similar things in the past with the bringing into reality the Nigeria Transportation Regulation in 2019. And many other similar stuffs, which Nigerians, especially the media, help to set public agenda so that Nigeria can understand things that can happen. And this thing creates more jobs than what we normally expect in the traditional setting. So doing this, it has been in the pipeline for quite some time. It's not as if the Ministry of Communication and Digital Economy, federal government just bring it to reality now. A lot of work consultations have been done, and I personally participated in the initial coming up of this strategy because we're at the forefront. We know the blockchain technology, use case and application is the future of the world, so of which Nigeria cannot isolate itself. It does not really matter. And what is more important now is that no human being can even escape it because every human being that is born in the world today must be technology savvy.
And talking about, being technology savvy, I'm sure, some of our audience might not understand, what exactly, blockchain technology is. Can you just break it down for us in layman terms?
Okay, and the first, thank you very much. I like this question, but it's going to take us a bit more in terms of awareness, training, and capacity building before people can actually understand what all these stuffs are. The purpose of this kind of communication today is starting the process so that when I'm able to explain it to you, explain it to Nigerians, some of those other Nigerians will be able to explain to other Nigerians until it's trickled down. But because we have asked this question, first I would like to address let me say, enlightened, or let me say relatively enlightened Nigerians, because that is where the real problem is. Because when these Nigerians that think that they know don't actually know, they become intellectual technicians. And the problem with intellectual technicians is that they are very dangerous for society. Because a lot of people rely on them. Because they don't know, then they will explain to people who rely on them and give them wrong information. That's why you see fake news and all this kind of something begin to come up because there's no referenceable site or referenceable authority where they can get it from. Because you have asked this question, for me to even explain what blockchain is, I would like to start from the fundamentals. When you talk about computing, that is how we put information in the information systems environment. Today, there are two ways, but it does not mean that those two ways are the only two ways. So, we have what we call the centralized information system environment, CISE. That is an environment where the nodes, our computers, talk to a server. And that's why you have a server administrator, the kind of job function you have. An administrator will be there who will approve you when you use your password to sign in. The administrator will have programmed all those things to ensure that your password and you're able to sign on to the network, you're able to connect. But the problem with that kind of system is that the administrator becomes the superpower. Because even if Mr. President approves something, the administrator can change it. We saw the practical things of what we experienced in the election in Adamawa, where what the REC is saying is different from what the returning officer is supposed to say or what the INEC have to say. Imagine if the REC is the administrator and it's hidden. Because it was public, then there is disagreement. What if it's hidden? The administrator is somewhere you don't know. Then that becomes the reality of the things. So either it's granting student result or it's approving financial information or asset or all those things. That is centralized information system environment, or that we can also refer to as the traditional information systems environment that we are today. Now, this status quo is being challenged for vagaries of reasons. One of the reasons is that during the time of our forefathers, they keep their money, whether in paper form or in any other form, inside their cocoa farm. And they have the way of protecting inside that cocoa farm. Because if they don't authorize you to go into their cocoa farm and you go there, you can go to inside the cocoa farm, go to the hot carry contact, and begin to clear the whole ground. Now government come and say people to be putting their money in the bank. Without your consent, without your authorization, bank begin to remove money from your money at their dictate. Card management, account management, they did not agree the fee with you, they did not agree all kinds of something with you. Because the bank is the administrator. That is corruption. Because the bank begin to deduct your money, so the money you put there 1,000 naira, before you know it, your money didn't begin to be 8,800 and something. Your money is just reducing because the banks are doing what they like.
Okay,
so some group of people now challenge, that look, we don't want this. So we now want a decentralized information systems environment. That's why I'm trying to explain the foundation, the issue with centralized, so that because you say in a layman's language, so that layman can connect with what we are saying. So now the challenge now brought about, we don't want a central authority on our transactions, but trust will be established, because the reason why we want the banks, we want the administrator, all those things, because we want somebody that we can trust, that this person is reliable. But now we're now saying that no, let us form another systems in which case we don't need to trust anybody who can do transactions successfully.
So it's a trustless system.
Yeah, that is what, yes. It's trustworthy, but it does not rely on a central authority. So that is why it's decentralized information systems environment, where there is no server, all the nodes talk to themselves. That kind of system uses what we call distributed ledger technology. Because we have it, I have it. So when there's an information, the copy you have that everybody have. So for me to now say my copy is the correct one, everybody on the nodes must agree to it. What we call different kind of consensus algorithm. Those kind of consensus algorithm means that we can do it either through proof of work or proof of stake or any other kind of algorithm. So this idea emerged through what people that are trying to challenge the financial system that I mentioned earlier that brought about the emergence of Bitcoin.
They don't want a centralized system.
They don't want one centralized system
to have the decision to change.
Yeah, to do so. That's what now brought about Bitcoin, which is the first use case and application of blockchain technology. But what I'm trying to say is that blockchain technology is essentially decentralized information systems environment.
So it's quite interesting, because we know normally governments are normally centralized because they have the powers to make decisions. So how much of a game changer is this blockchain technology to our system, a way of doing government?
Very serious. Government did that at that time because government have no other option. It was the centralized information system that was available at that time. So government have to deal with that. And don't forget there was a time that there was no internet. Government was not using internet. When there is internet, government begin to use internet. I can go to CSC now and do online registration of my companies. I can go to something and do a lot of things. Pay my federal revenue. Without the internet, could government have done that? So you can see that now government itself is now being proactive to know that the blockchain technology environment is a game changer, and hence the approval of this policy. The corruption we are talking about in Nigeria, those corruptions are system driven. So the tackling of the corruptions in Nigeria also have to be system driven. Because you ask this kid that how is government going to make use of all these things? Government knows what it's doing. Because one, for example, how can you go ahead and you're having different WAEC results? The administrator in WAEC itself or some people collaborated to make this thing happen.
So how does blockchain change that?
It will change it now because once your result is released and approved by the approving authority of any institution, it will be stored in a memory location. Let's say, let me give a typical example. Graduation list of University of Lagos, 1990. It has a database, the whole graduation list. Now, in 1991, there's another graduation. You also have graduation list. The way in the blockchain environment, the way it will work is that there is first of all a block which will be hashed, and another block which will be appended to that, where you say blockchain. So, in 1992, 1993, 1994, 1995, 1996. So, if you now say you graduated in 1990, you must alter all the blocks. Because all the lists of 1990 plus 1991 plus 1992 plus 1993, which if you change it, maybe University of Lagos have sent the graduation list to Federal Ministry of Education, has sent it to foreign universities that are admitting a student. All the guardians have it. All these people I'm talking about, they are nodes. So for me to alter any of those blocks, I must alter the one in everybody's hand.
And
which is difficult. Which is difficult. Which is very, very difficult. So it means you will not be able to do it.
So you're telling me now with blockchain, if, take for instance, we use blockchain with government spending, take that for instance now, and the government records they spent this amount on, say, this project, and they see how much goes out to the contractors, having to do all of that. If we put all of that, is it possible to pull all of that information on the blockchain?
No, of course. Once the blockchain system has been designed, it is automatic. You are even talking about this money, those things. It even starts from approval. The initiator, somebody initiated, they send a memo to the director look at it. If one block is hashed and added to the next person, So if Mr. Governor or the President now approved it, I can trace all the people. There are a lot of technologies that are involved. That's why I'm saying that, it is a process. Because you need to know about hash function, how to hash. You need to know about data and information security and cryptographic mechanisms in terms of integrity of data, confidentiality of data, availability of data, authentication in terms of both entity authentication and data origin authentication. That's why I'm saying I have to speak fair to some group of people who will now go and break it down. And I can also try to do that. Because if Mr. President sends something to the Senate President, like the way we have today, you find that sometimes we begin to say that, is that the version, is that not the version? Because even though it is in an electronic system, the cryptography is poor. But blockchain technology is absolutely cryptographic. There's a difference between when I sign my signature, they scan it, and you put it on another document, as compared to when I use digital signature. There's a difference between electronic signature and digital signature. Digital signature is a specific and specialized type of electronic signature that makes use of cryptographic technology. It makes use of that. And what I'm trying to explain to that is that once that is put in place appropriately, then any kind of fraud or those kind of things in the system, encryption must have taken place, public key infrastructure must have been used, public key cryptography, digital signature must have been used, hash functions. Each of these has what they do. For example, I can alter the integrity of a data without knowing what I'm entering. A hacker can go here now, plug into WAEC, begin to change student results without even knowing what I'm changing. 81, I change to 18. When they grade it F9, somebody that's supposed to have. But if it is a blockchain environment, it cannot happen.
So basically, blockchain is unhackable.
It's difficult to hack. In mathematics, we don't talk about the possibility. Why? Because, you know, when I was explaining earlier, I wanted us to focus on what we wanted to talk about. But I said we have two ways of representing information right now, which is centralized and decentralized. But both centralized and decentralized are based on America's standard code for information interchange that we call ASCII code, which is binary digits, zeros and ones. And that's why you talk about digital computer, all those things. But that is not the only way we can represent information. Information can be represented in state of electrons. And that is what the whole field of quantum computing is talking about. So in future, that's why we have blockchain technology before. Government is going to come up with a quantum computing policy. Because with quantum computing, I can crack and deal with the current technology that we even get to be proud of today. So in that state, in mathematics, we don't talk about impossibility, we talk about difficulty. So once you make it difficult, for example, now if I know that you can hack this thing within 2 years, and I will change it within 1 week or in the next 1 day. So it's none of my business whether you are able to change it.
Okay. So very quickly now, just break it down for me. How can businesses, use this technology?
It is very important that businesses are going to use it, and how they are using it is already there. Because we are not talking about the blockchain technology. You have both public blockchain and you have private blockchain. So private blockchain is essentially for business organizations. And they can use public blockchain in addition. That means they can use it in dual mode. So we have different protocols for that, which when an organization wants to embark on private blockchain technology adoption, then the design and the implementation, the operation and support can be worked out separately. So in that case, it means that not everybody needs to be a node. Only people that are relevant for purpose will be on node. For example, now maybe a bank, or if you are not my customer, or you are not, let me borrow from our data protection regulations, or data protection and privacy regulations, what we call data subjects. So maybe all your data subjects are people of interest to you. So you can do a private blockchain within that space, as compared to public blockchain, where anybody can join in and leave. But in the case of private blockchain, only people that are relevant for purpose, maybe your subscribers, if it is voting you want to do, of what purpose will be somebody who is not your subscriber or your customer, be influencing information, maybe you just want to do a survey. Somebody who is not patronizing, you just go there and begin to influence the result. So in that case, private businesses will make use of that. But they will make use of public blockchain in addition, because if, for example, they want to do with cryptocurrency, they may want to accept, maybe Bitcoin, Ethereum, or any of the cryptocurrency that we have, maybe an airline.
So there's also a currency aspect.
Yeah, that is the foundation. Right. That is not the foundation, but the first application. Even though it is more complex than that, but currency is tied down to everything. Take, for example, blockchain technologies will allow farmers to price their farm products separately. So if I'm a farmer dealing with yam, let's say yellow yam, let's say Discoria cayenesis, that is what yellow yam, the botanical name. Then we have Discoria radicata. So there are different kinds of pounded yam you can have from different kinds of yams. So Benue State produces yam, Ondo State produces yam. But I can price it differently. I can tell you that this yam from Ondo State, from my village in Ondo State, is 500 naira. Whereas the one from Benue State can say it's 200 naira. I can tell this one is a natural something. If you eat this yam, you are going to live up to 100 years old. You are going, all this is going to happen, all those things. And I can attach the coordinates, the geospatial information and identities of that yam from the farm it comes from the land it comes from, to that and the price in which you can check. In which case, if you say that, when you begin to know, you cannot make your decision to say that where you are going to buy the yam from Ondo State and not from Benue State. So that is just in the areas of farmers. So that I'm not going to tell you the applications. The same way in terms of military, national security and defense. Today, we say that sometimes they say that the Air Force mistakenly bomb civilian area, all those things. It's a part of the issues, because when you have the geospatial information, it can be altered. So an enemy, if you can alter into the military software, It can change the coordinate to a military barrack and say the army they can bomb their own barrack and all those things. But if we're to be in a blockchain environment, that information cannot be tampered with. So that is national security and defense application.
So I guess it cuts across.
It cuts across border. That is why we call it emerging and disruptive technology.
Exactly. I guess so much to unpack there. But well, thank you so much for breaking it down for us, Chief Olutoyo, founder, chairman, and Crypto Economy Institute Africa. It was great having you today. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you very much.
All right, so we'll be talking blockchain technology and how it's going to disrupt things with how we do business and government. We'll take a quick break now. When we come back, Business Morning returns in a moment. Do stay with us. Welcome back. Well, it's earnings season, and key industries have released some of the results for the first quarter of 2023. So let's drill down now on what's happening with these earnings. Joining me now is Shegu Adams, research analyst, AfriInvest Research and Consulting. Joining me via Zoom. Great to have you on the show.
Thank you very much, Ladi. Good morning to you.
Yeah, so I've seen most of these results for top cement producers right here in Nigeria, and I can see that revenue, they've had some hits on revenue for the first quarter of 2023. From your view, what contributed to this?
Yeah, thank you very much. Great to be on your program. So I will describe the performance of listed cement players in Q1 2023 as underwhelming. We saw the likes of Dangote Cement, which is the industry leader, reporting a downturn in top line of around 1.6%, while players like Lafarge African were reporting growth of 1.9 and 9.7% respectively. And then when you look at it in context, compared with the corresponding quarter of 2022, you see that these growths are coming down from levels as high as 24%, 26%, and around 50% for the respective players. On the aggregate, the industry growth was flattish. That's growing by 0.7% compared to 29% year on year in the quarter one for 2022. The performance should actually be looked in context because, like we recall, we had our election, Nigerian cement to the poll around that period. Now, the demand for cement in Nigeria is typically driven by housing construction, infrastructure demand. And the sector is a sensitive sector to a lot of what happens in the business environment because, you know, a lot of what goes on in that sector involves heavy capex. So when you look at the private side of the market, with the intense or increase in uncertainty because of the election, businesses, households had to slow down some of their business decisions, roll over heavy capex forward. As well as when you look at the public demand for cement also, it was affected by the shift in focus in government from their typical business of trying to do a lot of investment and ensure that they're pushing out new projects. But there was a shift to ensuring that there will be a smooth transition, whichever administration they have to hand over to. So the combination of these two sort of affected demand for the quarter. But we've also, from our engagement with management of cement companies, we also understand that they're also affected by the Naira redesign policy, which was introduced from the end of 2022, and the most of the impacts was seen in quarter one. The Naira policy was, if you recall, was the CBN's attempt to try to introduce new designs for some key denomination and then withdraw some of the legacy notes. And that caused a bit of disruption, especially for the informal sector, where cash is the main way they can facilitate transactions. So for the cement players, this affected them because in industries like construction, you tend to see workers that operate, informal workers that rely on day-to-day wages. And because of the unavailability of cash, this disrupted operations in that segment. And this sort of rubbed off on the performance of cement. And we also suspect that some of the issues around gas disruptions, which affected performance in 2022, might have also played a role in the performance we saw in Q1. But it's important to know that most of these headwinds, we don't expect it to be persistent. It's one of the election happens once in every 4 years. And so for the Naira redesign, we're seeing that CBN has reversed that policy around April. And so we have those old notes back in circulation. But when you look at the election or the political sphere too, it's been a bit of encouraging because some of the concerns people had around political unrest, protests on the scale of NSAS we saw before, all of those have been, the fears have been allayed, and the election or post-election litigations have been channeled through the appropriate tribunals, and we see all of that confined to the courtroom. So that's encouraging. We expect that as the days roll by, all of this uncertainty will really ease. And when there's a transition to a new administration, we'll see that government, there'll be normalization of fiscal activities, and this will positively impact demand for the sector. Other things being equal.
Looking at all the headwinds from Q1, what are your expectations for other quarters? Because now we're beginning to see, cash in the economy at this time. So are there any other headwinds that you see coming up in consequent quarters?
So for the subsequent quarters for the year, one thing to note that if you look at the business of the cement business rather, it has a very clear seasonal pattern. That is, if you look at growth on a quarter-on-quarter basis, you see that over time there's a very clear pattern where Q4 tends to be the strongest period of cement growth on a quarter-on-quarter basis, and then this tends to moderate until it reaches a trough in Q3 and then picks up again in Q4. So you tend to see Q4, Q1 very strong growth on a quarter-on-quarter basis, then Q2, Q3, we sort of see some kind of contraction there. And this is not unusual because it follows our weather calendar for the country where you have rainy season starting from March through November, depending on the region of the country, north or south, they just have a bit of difference. And so cement demand tends to follow that pattern. And because you cannot, the construction industry is affected by the rainy season. When the rains come, you find that construction projects will be put on hold, as well as the case where we have incidents of flooding in Nigeria. So having started the year on that very underwhelming note, when you look at when you do a bit of projection around that, you see that a lot of that gusto is missing out already in the sector. We don't expect Q2 to be too bad compared to Q1 because Q1 was really underwhelming. But we think that it will be a bit flattish. And then when you look at it on an annual basis, it will not really be, we don't really see an impressive outlook for Q2, Q3. And so we think that some of the post start of the year will affect the sector. In addition, even though some of these factors, like I mentioned, are one-off, we think that it will take a bit of time for the new administration to set up its government, make the necessary appointments. So that fiscal normalization will come maybe later in the year, well into Q3. So by and large, it's not looking very good for this sector, although there's still a bit of reasons to be optimistic that as the year progresses, we'll see a lot of recoveries. But the near-term outlook for especially the next 2 quarters is not very, very, very optimistic as when we were coming into the year.
All right. Well, we'll hope the business environment gets much better going into other quarters. Thank you so much, Shegun Adams, research analyst at AfriInvest Research Consulting. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
And the Senate finally approved the request by President Muhammadu Buhari to restructure the 22.7 trillion naira loans to the central bank, from the Central Bank of Nigeria to the federal government, and extended under its Ways and Means provision. But what does this mean for the economy? Joining me now is Judith Osemeke, fixed income analyst, Kairos Capital. Great to have you on the show.
Thank you for having me. Good morning. How are you doing?
So much ado about securitization of this central bank loan. What does this mean, really, this approval?
Okay, so just a bit of background. The Ways and Means provision essentially just allows the government to borrow funds from the CBN in the event that it needs short-term or emergency financing to fund delayed government cash receipts. In the past, the government has relied heavily on the central bank to finance its expenditure programs through ways and means, which grew to about 22.7 trillion in 2022, in December 2022, from 19.3 trillion in June 2022. It essentially means that the loans will be converted into debt instruments that would be issued to the public in the Nigerian debt market.
So being issued to the public now, what are the implications of this for the economy? Because I've heard some people say that at the end of the day, Nigerians are having to pay for this loan, even though it's the federal government that spent it.
Yeah. So although the government has, stated certain benefits such as, improved debt transparency, reduced debt service cost at a rate of 9%, and reduced deficits in the budget, we however believe that these benefits barely scratch the surface when assessing the challenges within the Nigerian economy. Some negative implications on the economy would see an obvious increase in government debt, given the fact that ways and means is essentially a means of borrowing, or a form of borrowing. It means that government would essentially accumulate more debt, and it could see Nigeria's total debt stock rise to 70 trillion from the current 44.6 trillion. Also, we could also see that leaving interest rates too low for an extended period could also lead to heightened inflationary pressures, which the economy is currently struggling with. Last inflation rates was posted around 22.04%, and this could also have negative implications on the naira. In addition, and more importantly, we also think that it sets a bad precedent for the economy, because if the CBN's ways and means facility is always available to the government whenever needed, and can be ratified by the Senate, it could lead to complacency within the government and lack of transparency, which could also see reduced accountability for the government. Even in fixed income markets, the increased total debt stock would also worsen Nigeria's debt ratios, and also increase the risk premium of the country. We would also now see investors begin to become more cautious and even start demanding higher rates of return on the back of increased risk.
And what do you think can be done to get a positive outcome, for this? Because we're here now.
Yeah. So importantly, we think fiscal discipline is an important way to see a possible positive outcome from this. By reducing unnecessary spending, increasing revenue streams, and also prioritizing spending on critical infrastructural projects that would actually increase or open up more revenue streams for the economy. We also think that obviously, developing an optimal debt management strategy that really considers, the country's debt service capacity and, debt sustainability would ensure a positive outcome from this. In addition to this, we also see that we would also need strengthened accountability measures, as well as increased transparency within the economy.
All right, so much to do that. Thank you so much, Judith Sebeke, fixed income analyst, Kairos Capital. Thank you. Thank
you for having me.
All right, so let's head to the markets now, talking about the equities market. We have Anete Edet with the details. Anete, great to have you. Thank God it's Friday. Still another trading day.
Good morning, laddie. Yeah. Thank God it's Friday. And then, of course, I heard you talk about the President's, the Senate's approval of the Ways and Means by requested by the President.
Yeah.
So, but this time we're talking about the fixed income market, which is also another avenue for government's borrowings. So, and of course, the trading for yesterday, we saw bullish sentiments across the Treasury bills market as well as the bonds market, and then a mixture for this central bank special bills. So I'll be talking about that now in a couple of seconds from now. So the fixed income markets, bullish sentiments. It kick-started the second quarter with fresh rallies and spot rate declines. But then what you see at the close of Thursday's trading session, 14 deals were carried out for the April 25th paper for next year. That had the highest attraction there, 14 deals. It was followed by the 7th of March 2024 next year paper with 13 deals at 9.75% for the discount rate, the high discount rate, 15.38 billion naira. That's the total value for that counter, cumulative 40.59 billion naira, while 36 number of deals. Let's move over to the Treasury bills market. The Treasury bills market, it was also bullish sentiments there. We saw the average yield contract by 3 basis points to about 7.3%. So that's it. And we also saw declines at the long end. That's because participants demanded the 329 dates to maturity bills for that market segment. And of course, for the central bank special bills, we saw a combination of bills selling and borrowing from the CBN window. So when we take a look at that board there, 21st of August 2023 paper, which is later this year, that had the highest number of deals there. You see there, 8 deals at a value of 16 billion naira, and then the cumulative number there carried out for the deals, 11, and for the total amount there, 200 billion naira. So that's it for that market. And for now, we will be looking at what's the central bank's Monetary Policy Committee will be taking, what stance they will be taking, because this week we saw the U.S. Federal Reserve raised interest rates, and just yesterday we saw the European Central Bank also raising rates a second time this year. So what will the central bank be doing in its efforts to tame inflation? Well, our analysts will be talking to us about that in a couple of, okay, maybe we'll just skip that for now. So that's it for that market. And for the OMO market, the open maturity bills, so the OMO market, we had quite a rebound in the transactions there. The total number of deals carried out was 60 at 103.2 billion naira. Well, we saw the highest concentration on the 19th of December 2023 paper, 28 at a value of 40 billion naira. So that's it for that market. Let's flip over to the Nigerian local stock market. It regained after 2 days, starting of the month of May, in the red, but it was able to make some rebound. It was able to gain more than 45 billion naira, and at the same time recoup almost what it lost on Wednesday. It was up by 0.16%, which in basis points, that's about 82.98 basis points. So, and we saw rallies across 32 gainers, and we saw profit taking on the side of 18 losers. Mixed sectoral performance, let's see the board there. Mixed sectoral performance, we saw the consumer goods sector retracting by 0.29%, while we saw the banking sector, as well as the 3 other components of the NGX, making some impressive gains there, which is what made the market to come back to positive territory at the close of Thursday's trading session. Now, let's take a look at the activity chart. Activity chart, we saw an improvement in the activity, nearly 90% increase in the total volume of shares traded on Thursday. The same picture for the total number of value, the total value of the market was up nearly 40%. But in terms of the deals, in contrast to what you had on Wednesday, we saw some pullback of 4.64% pullback for the total number of deals. Transcorp remained the most traded stock in terms of volume of trades carried out there at 811.2 million units, while at the same time, Access Corp, and this has been back-to-back so far, about 3 trading sessions this week, they've held that top spot in terms of the activity chart carried out there. The 2 gainers, like I mentioned. So that in company news, we have the board of Airtel Africa announcing Carl Cruz, who's a former chief executive of Unilever West Africa. So he's now been appointed as the managing director of that telco giant. Remember, Airtel is one of the largest, is among the top tier, the top most capitalized equity on the Nigerian exchange. So we'll be seeing what that announcement, which takes effect from today, what effect will it be having on the telco giant? Will it make the share price to increase? Will it make the investors there to be jittery? But we'll be looking out for that at the close of today's trading session. So now, like I mentioned earlier, we will be expecting that the central bank's monetary policy committee will be meeting on the 22nd and the 23rd of this month, which is the third meeting so far for this year. And will the central bank increase the interest rate, the monetary policy rate? Well, your guess is as good as mine, but we'll be keeping our eyes out for that. And at the same time, on the 16th of this month, we will be expecting the inflation figure. The inflation figure is still at its high, about 22%, and still climbing. But what's the April figure we'll be printing out, Ladi? I think your guess is as good as mine, but I think it's still going to be on the upside.
We know, even though central bankers globally are looking at pivoting, at this time from the rate hikes, because we've seen how that's impacted the banking sector in those countries. Who knows what's going to happen here, because we know the banks are still quite good in Nigeria. And we know the central bank has said if the inflation rates keeps rising, they'll keep raising rates going
Exactly.
forward.
I think, but for the U.S. Central Bank, for the U.S. Fed, I think the era of raising rates is almost coming to an end, according to what Jerome Powell mentioned in the last FOMC meeting.
It'll be interesting to see rate cuts at some time, because we've gotten so used to rate hikes. It'll be so interesting to see
so far,
rate cuts.
Yeah,
I think so far, I'm looking forward to that.
Our central bank, we've had about 3 interest rate increases this month or this year.
Yeah.
Or since the last time that they had an interest rate increase. So
let's hope for
how it turns out this way.
All right. Thank you so much, Anita. So at the end of the day, central bank is still raising rates at this point, but let's hope for some kind of pivot going forward. Let's look at other markets now. We see Bitcoin there, still holding up, but not at 30,000, about 29,000 yesterday, and we see the sentiment is still greed in the market. Not much action right now in the crypto space. We're still seeing some tussle there around that 30K level. We're seeing the market come down to that. It did hit that 28,000 level, but still jump back up to 29K, trying to break that 30,000 level. See a lot of resistance right there. Let's look at the top cryptocurrencies we track now. We see Bitcoin there at 8 a.m. this morning, trading at 28,000. It's up 0.12%. Ethereum still trying to get back to that 2,000 level, 1,899, about 1.9, 0.20% down. BNB, 0.42% down. We see Cardano, 1.07% up there, having some kind of bullish run this morning. XRP still continuing, but still below 50 cents, up 0.31%, marginal increase there. Let's bring in Solomon Amunde now, financial market analyst. Hello, Solomon.
Good morning, Ladi. Good morning.
Good morning, Solomon. Thank God it's Friday. So how do you see Bitcoin price action this week? Quite uninteresting.
Yeah, very, very interesting. The price is still very much stable. The support at around $27,000 is extremely strong, and so far so good. It's still holding on, but at the same time, we've been unable to go past the resistance at around $30,500. So we're still playing sideways for now and consolidating. So I'm really, really eager to see what happens from here. Although I'm actually bearish, I'm expecting us to go down and test the range of $22,000 this month.
Right, so we have another bear on the show. But what's happening with meme coins? Now, we've been hearing about this Pepe meme coin, but it seems some of the investors are not able to sell it.
Yeah, the meme coin rally has been a very, very interesting one. I mean, we've been in the meme coin season for the past 3 weeks rather. And for Pepe, people have actually made so much money from Pepe, and most investors have been able to cash out both on DEXs and also on centralized exchanges. But the problem now is most of the new meme coins that are imitating Pepe, most of them you can't sell, and they have what we refer to as a honeypot bug, which is actually trapping investors' funds. So we have more of those new meme coins now circulating in the market, and they are really ripping off investors.
What do you think is the best way to play this meme coin craze at this point? Because it looks like most investors always come late to the party.
Yeah, definitely. the meme coin season is quite difficult to track when it starts, but the best play is you identify the already established meme coins and you can ride those ones to like 5, 10, 15x. Like for example, Pep has done more than 20x from its listing on centralized exchanges, which was around $20 million market cap. And today it's sitting at almost $800 million market cap. So if you check that, that's well above 20x. So whoever got into Pep like a week ago, the person should be sitting at least 20x profit today. So the best way, identify those that have already established themselves and you can invest in those ones.
All right, this market never ceases to surprise, but what are you expecting next week, talking about price action?
All right, so next week, I'm expecting Bitcoin to actually break to above $30,500, probably make a sweep at around 31, at most $32,000. Then afterwards, I expect the market to crash to about 22, 23K dollars.
All right, looks quite straightforward, but obviously very stressful. Thank you so much, Solomon Amunde, financial market analyst, and enjoy the weekend.
Thank you very much.
All right, let's look at the top gainers now. Let's see who's topping that counter. We see ICP. This one, Internet Computer, back at the top gainers counter, $6.01, up 2.25%, even though still far from its listing price. Some say it was about $300, but we're seeing some kind of a recovery with ICP. Who knows how far this is going to go. TON, that's $2.10, up 2.04%. Still no double-digit gains in the market. Kava, up 1.61%. Let's look at the top losers counter. Let's see who's topping that counter. We see SWE there, that new listing that got with investors getting the airdrops, $1.28, down 8.36% after a big drop of about 60% yesterday. And Little Dow, also on the top losers counter, down 5.77%. So we're seeing single-digit losses and single-digit gains in the market. Looking forward to see how the market plays out over the weekend. We know this market doesn't sleep. So that's it for the markets today. Thank you so much for watching the show. Don't forget to join us at 1:30 on Business Incorporated for more updates and developments in the world of business. And you can watch this again on our YouTube channel. Just flip over to YouTube, search for Channels Television. You can check our videos and watch all our productions. Enjoy the weekend. I'm Vladdy Williams. Bye for now.